historic hearing on unidentified anomalous phenomena, also known as UFOs. Lawmakers heard from 3 witnesses today, including former U.S. military and intelligence community personnel who claim to have come into contact with such objects.
Right now, we need a system where pilots can report without fear of losing their jobs.
The question of whether we're alone in the universe, whether we've missed something right in front of us, has evolved more in the past month than in the entire history of the debate. It all traces back to a simple but haunting question first posed by Enrico Fermi. If the universe is 13.8 billion years old and Earth is a relative newcomer, then surely there's been plenty of time for other civilizations to emerge before us. And if even one of them got a head start of a few million years, they should have spread across the galaxy by now. So, where are they? That's the core of the Fermi paradox. This disconnect between the high probability of intelligent life and the absolute silence we're hearing. Some argue space is just too big, or the energy cost too high to explore and colonize at galactic scale. But here's the thing, those arguments are based on human time frames. For a civilization that lasts millions of years, time isn't a hurdle, it's a tool. Over that kind of time span, you don't need faster-than-light travel, you just need patience. And the universe has time, endless time, and more energy than we could ever hope to use. Others suggest maybe alien life left something behind, like a Benford probe, a kind of cosmic messenger dropped off during a star system flyby long ago. Stars like our Sun have passed near countless others in the galaxy's long history. What if one of those encounters wasn't empty? So, Fermi's question still echoes, where is everybody? Because if life is common and the tech exists, they should be all around us. And yet, nothing. Just silence, no unmistakable signs, no cosmic hello. Or maybe, just maybe, we have seen something. We just didn't recognize it. That brings me to the whole UFO conversation. We've heard the stories, the footage, the eyewitness accounts, and we've also seen the ridicule, the debunking, the conspiracy theories, the stigma, all of it, decade after decade. And what did all of that noise do? It made us blind. For 70 years, we stopped asking a very basic, very scientific question. Is there a signal buried in all that noise? What if we've been looking right at the evidence and just didn't see it? Maybe the real problem isn't the lack of alien contact, it's that we wouldn't recognize an alien civilization even if it landed in front of us. The debate's been so cluttered, so politicized, so steeped in stigma that we've blinded ourselves. Remember Arthur C. Clarke's famous line? Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Think about that. If aliens have tech far beyond ours, it might not look like blinking lights and antennas. It might look like something we simply don't understand. And when people report UFOs doing things that seem to break the laws of physics, that might be exactly what Clarke was talking about. Now imagine this. What if advanced civilizations moved beyond radio waves centuries ago? Maybe they communicate using quantum signals or something we haven't even discovered yet. In that case, we wouldn't just miss the message, we wouldn't even know they're talking. The core issue, no matter how you look for intelligent life, whether through telescopes or testimony, you're always digging through noise to find the signal. SETI has to filter out static from Earth and cosmic background. The UFO community? It's drowning in hoaxes, bad footage, misidentifications, and hearsay. But even buried in all that, the real question remains, is there something real hiding in plain sight? And now, for the first time, it seems like the answer might be yes. Even official agencies are starting to say it out loud. The Pentagon's own UFO office, ARROW, says 2 to 5% of sightings can't be explained. These aren't YouTubers or conspiracy theorists, these are vetted reports coming from credible sources. That's the signal. Which brings us to whistleblower David Grusch. His claims? Mind-blowing. According to Grusch, the US government is in possession of 12 to 15 recovered craft, not built by human hands. They're labeled non-human, though that doesn't necessarily mean little green men. Could be anything, but it's not ours. He even claims the oldest known crash happened near Milan, Italy in 1933, decades before Roswell. The story goes that the wreck was recovered by Mussolini's regime, hidden in a hangar and shown to German scientists. And get this, apparently Mussolini couldn't keep his mouth shut and told Pope Pius XII, who then tipped off the Americans. Allegedly, the US got its hands on the craft around 1944. And what did it look like? A giant, bell-shaped object. Now sure, this all sounds like a sci-fi thriller, and it should be treated with skepticism. But if it's true, even partly, it's not just a historical twist. It's a seismic shift in how we see ourselves in the universe. And here's the kicker. If these stories are real, we may not be alone, but we might be the last to realize it. Because the most terrifying answer to the Fermi paradox isn't that no one's out there, it's that someone was. And we've been ignoring the evidence all along. And this is where the Fermi paradox starts to unravel. And what you're left with is the zoo hypothesis. No matter how you slice it, if advanced civilizations exist and we haven't heard from them, maybe it's because they're watching us, like animals in an exhibit. People in both the UFO community and skeptic circles often ask me, well, do you even want to believe? A nod to that iconic X-Files poster on Fox Mulder's wall. I want to believe. Honestly, not really. At least, not when it comes to aliens being nearby. If you've followed this channel for a while, you know I'm fascinated by astrobiology and the search for life beyond Earth. But if I had to choose, I'd rather we be totally alone in the universe than sitting next to a civilization that's millions of years ahead of us in technology. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. If they're out there and that far ahead, then we're no longer in charge of our own planet. Whether they declare themselves or not, they own the chessboard, and we're just pieces on it. Now, existential dread aside, and there's plenty more where that came from, I'm not here to blindly believe or deny anything. I'm here for evidence, always. That's why I'm cautious about David Grusch's claims. As incredible as they sound, we haven't seen solid proof yet. And yes, extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. That's just common sense. But here's where things get weird and interesting. Even without concrete proof, Grusch's testimony has already triggered something very real in Washington. Whatever he said, it was enough to make both the US House and Senate take action in ways we've never seen before.
And here's the twist.
It might not even be about a downed UFO. What might actually be lighting a fire under Congress is something even more disturbing. A rogue special access program, or SAP. That's basically a top-secret military project. But this one, allegedly operating without congressional oversight. Let that sink in. If true, it means some branch of the military or intelligence community has been spending money and doing operations in the shadows without telling Congress, and Congress writes the checks. Now, this is where it gets serious. If they confirm this kind of off-the-books black project exists, funding can be pulled, and that seems to be the quiet threat coming from the US Senate right now. That alone gives some weight to Grusch's story. But the most interesting part? This all connects to a very specific bill, crafted by the Senate Intelligence Committee, no less. It's tucked inside the 2024 Intelligence Authorization Act. And here's the kicker. The committee passed it unanimously. That doesn't happen often, so what's really going on? Is this about UFOs, cover-ups, or secret programs run without oversight? Maybe all of the above. But one thing's certain, the dam is cracking. And once it breaks, the story we've been told for 70 years might be replaced by something far stranger and far more real. So here's where things get really specific and serious.
The Senate's new bill lays it out clearly.
Anyone, past or present, who's worked with the federal government and has had access to materials related to UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, and especially anything classified or under restricted access, has 60 days from when the bill takes effect in early 2024 to report it, and not just anywhere. They're required to hand over a full list of any objects, tech, or material that might be of non-Earth origin. Yeah, the bill actually uses that term to the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which is currently run by Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. This isn't a casual suggestion, it's a hard deadline. Miss it, and legal consequences are on the table. Now, why would Congress write non-Earth origin into a federal law? That's not something you drop into a government document lightly. It seems to directly respond to David Grusch's claims. Remember, he told the intelligence community's Inspector General that the US has recovered craft and materials that aren't from this planet. And apparently, the IG found that claim urgent and credible enough to take seriously. Sources say Grusch isn't the only one. There may be 3 to 5 other insiders, whistleblowers, who haven't gone public but are sharing information inside the government. That's likely why the Senate didn't just brush this off as rumor or speculation. They're acting like they've seen more than just one man's story. And there's more to Grusch's situation. He claims he was harassed for coming forward, and at one point, someone even broke into his home, allegedly a government contractor. In Washington, those kinds of accusations are taken very seriously. So this isn't just about UFOs anymore. It's about accountability, about powerful institutions being forced to bring whatever they've been hiding into the light. And now, the clock is ticking. Then there's Senator Josh Hawley, who dropped a little bombshell of his own, not in public, but referencing the closed-door hearings. According to him, Pentagon officials reluctantly admitted that, something strange is going on. So, what exactly are we dealing with? At this point, we're staring down three possibilities. The first, that the US government really does have recovered UAPs, maybe even crash sites or actual craft, and has been keeping it quiet for decades. That's the classic theory. Think Roswell, think whispered stories of cover-ups stretching back to the 1940s. Now, I'll be honest, I'm naturally skeptical of that scenario, but if it's true, here's what might happen. Even after admitting it to Congress, they could still keep the public in the dark. Watch closely. If we start hearing that AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, is holding classified briefings for lawmakers, but there's no public statement about what was discussed, then that's probably your sign. The secret stays buried. If they can make a convincing case for national security, that might be where it ends. And it gets weirder, because AARO has released a few eyebrow-raising details. According to Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, most of the UAP sightings reported are of metallic spheres, and some of them have been clocked at speeds up to Mach 2. That's twice the speed of sound. But that's all we got. No video, no footage, just a vague statement about some object flying that fast on a classified sensor, and we don't even know the margin of error on that data. So the trail goes cold. But if that's the little bit they're willing to share, you have to wonder, what aren't they telling us?
There's another theory
That this entire thing, from Roswell to today, could be a long-running disinformation campaign or a Cold War-era psyop that's now spun so far out of control that even the people behind it can't tell where the fiction ends. Honestly, if that's the case, we might actually have a better shot at learning the truth. The US government has a track record, shady projects from the 20th century that only got exposed years, sometimes decades, later. We know that story all too well. Then there's the third option. Maybe there's nothing there at all, just cultural hysteria. No crash debris, no alien tech, just a modern myth that got too big to question. But here's the twist. That's actually the least likely answer, even though on the surface, it sounds like the most rational one. Why? Because we already know for a fact, public record, that the US government once contracted Bigelow Aerospace to store materials linked to UAPs. Over $20 million was set aside for that project. Bigelow even built facilities to house it all, but nothing ever came. Still, that didn't stop key political figures like the late Senator Harry Reid and Senator Barry Goldwater from going on record saying they believed those materials did exist. That's not internet speculation. That's documented. Now, fast forward to today. The House of Representatives has 2 separate hearings in the works this July focused on UAP investigations. At minimum, we're in for a very interesting new chapter in the saga of David Grusch and what he's revealed. But just as we're gearing up for that, another storyline emerges. The Galileo Project, led by Harvard's Dr. Avi Loeb, has reportedly made significant breakthroughs while trying to recover fragments from what might be the first interstellar object ever detected on Earth, IM-1.
So the big question is,
Which revelation will land first and will either finally cut through the noise? But here's the thing. This isn't the first time scientists have pulled something like this off. Back in 2018, NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, ran a similar mission. After their NEXRAD weather radar picked up a fireball streaking through the sky, they used seismic data to track where it likely landed, right inside the Olympic Coast National Marine Sanctuary, about 16 miles offshore. It wasn't easy. NOAA had to drag a magnetic rake across the seafloor, very similar to the setup Avi Loeb used with his Galileo project. But against the odds, they found 2 tiny metallic spheres, Tests confirmed they were the fusion crust, the outer shell that peels off a meteorite as it blazes through the atmosphere. So when critics claim Loeb's ocean expedition is pointless, that there's no way to recover meteor fragments from the seafloor, NOAA already proved it can be done. And fun fact, the lead scientist from that 2018 NOAA mission was actually an early advisor to Loeb's team. About IM-1, the object Avi Loeb is chasing, it's been weird from day one. First, it's catalogued in both the Syneos Meteor Tracking System and a seismic station located on Manus Island in Papua New Guinea. Together, those data sets narrowed down the possible crash zone to just 1 square kilometer. That's laser precise for this kind of work. At first, Loeb's magnetic sled pulled up some odd stuff. Tool steel fragments and platinum-bearing wires, not your average space junk. But what came next got way more interesting. Now they're pulling up tiny metallic spheres, just like NOAA's, only smaller, less than a millimeter. And again, they look like they were molten, cooled from extreme heat, the signature of something that survived a fiery descent from space. But here's where it really gets weird. The data shows that IM-1 was much tougher than any typical iron meteorite. We're talking stronger, denser, maybe even engineered. And that's raised a very big question. Baptized, IM-1 wasn't natural at all. But here's the kicker. These molten spherules, those tiny metallic beads pulled from the ocean floor, aren't just weird. They're totally unlike anything we've ever seen before. Not only do they not match the alloys we use here on Earth, but they also don't line up with the composition of any known meteorite. Normally, iron meteorites, those that formed in our own solar system, always contain nickel. It's like a cosmic signature. When asteroids form, iron and nickel go hand in hand. So, if these spherules don't follow that pattern, it could mean something huge. They didn't come from around here. In fact, this might force scientists to go back and recheck the world's meteorite collections for any samples low in nickel that could be interstellar. That's why this find isn't just a win for meteoritics. It could rewrite part of our understanding of astrobiology too. As of now, Avi Loeb and his team have recovered 31 spherules, and counting. Most are made of iron, but here's where it gets wild. They also contain around 10% magnesium and titanium, and that's already pretty unusual. But one sample? It had 10% indium. Yes, indium. That's a rare metal, and no, you don't find that in meteorites. Now, to be fair, indium has been used in aircraft engine parts going back to World War II, so there's a slim chance this could be wreckage. But even if it is, the distribution and concentration are still raising serious eyebrows. We'll get clearer answers soon. Loeb's team plans to run the samples through university-grade spectrometers as soon as the expedition wraps up. And that's not all. They're also planning isotopic testing, which can help reveal whether these materials really originated beyond our solar system. That's right, we may know within days if these are interstellar visitors. Oh, and just when you think it couldn't get more interesting, they've also recovered a chunk of mostly iron weighing over 3 grams. That might not sound like much, but in this kind of search, that's a pretty big find. Even better, it seems to match both the path and expected debris field from the IM-1 object they've been tracking all along. This story is far from over. Stay tuned. There are actually a few different clues that are starting to line up. Clues that suggest these strange little spherules really might have come from an interstellar object. First, let's talk about how they're spread out. The pattern matches what you'd expect from a meteor breaking apart in the atmosphere. Smaller spherules scattered closer to where it exploded, and larger ones found near where the main chunk would have hit. That's textbook for a fireball event. Then there's the composition. The spherules are incredibly similar to each other chemically, which points to a single source. But they're spread wide enough across the seafloor to fit the idea of a high-speed object raining down debris as it tore apart in Earth's skies. And here's where it gets even more exciting. A second expedition is already in the works. This time, they're using 30 kHz sonar to hunt for something much bigger, the main mass of the IM-1 object. Whatever that turns out to be, it could finally tell us what hit our planet. So now we have to ask the question, if these fragments really came from an interstellar object, Or worse, if they're pieces of non-human technology, then how did they end up on Earth in the first place? This is where things start to get chilling. Most of us imagine first contact as something dramatic and cinematic, maybe shaking hands with a peaceful alien or getting a clear radio signal from deep space telling us where to find them. But what if that's not how it goes at all? What if it looks exactly like what we're seeing now? Strange metal fragments falling to Earth, mysterious government programs, whistleblowers, silence where there should be answers. That brings us to time, the real enemy here. See, we're fragile creatures. Humans have short lifespans. We worry about paying bills, raising kids, maybe taking a vacation when we can. We weren't built for deep space travel. Our biology is tied to Earth. This is our cradle, and we rarely stray far from it. Sure, we've sent people to the moon and robots all over the solar system, but we haven't even set foot on Mars yet. We talk about reaching the stars, but without longer lifespans or a complete shift in what we value, interstellar travel for us is a pipe dream.
So if something or someone has already figured it out,
Has crossed that impossible distance, and we're now finding pieces of their journey here on Earth, that changes everything. And we're just beginning to scratch the surface. While we haven't sent humans very far into space, we have sent plenty of machines. And here's something worth keeping in mind. Almost every spacecraft we launch, every rover, satellite, and telescope ends up as space junk or crashes into something. That's not a bug in the plan, it's the plan. Think about it. We crash probes into planets all the time, intentionally. When a mission's over, it's usually not worth the time or money to bring the equipment back. Even something as groundbreaking as the James Webb Space Telescope, one day, it'll go dark and just drift, lifeless, through space. The Hubble telescope will eventually fall back to Earth and burn up, unless we step in to save it. And Voyager 2? That one's on its way out of the solar system, carrying that now famous golden record, a hopeful message to whoever might find it. But let's be honest, if some alien did stumble across it, would they even have ears? Would they know how to play a vinyl record? Odds are they'd have no idea what to make of it. That golden disc might just become cosmic litter. Still, it's a powerful symbol. We're sending a piece of ourselves into the universe, hoping it says something about who we are. Here's the catch. We crash things on purpose, abandon them, or let them wander aimlessly through space. That's just how we do exploration. So why is it so strange to imagine an alien civilization might do the same thing? What if their old machines or forgotten tech have ended up crashing here on Earth? It's not so far-fetched when you think about how we treat our own gear. But here's where it gets darker, more unsettling.
if this stuff is real,
If there really are objects falling to Earth that aren't made by humans, then something's off. Something's changed, because this kind of thing, it doesn't show up in ancient records. Our ancestors weren't clueless, they knew metal when they saw it. They prized it. We even have weapons made from meteorites, literal space rocks turned into daggers. There's also the mysterious stone of a mesa, worshipped during the Greco-Roman era, believed to have fallen from the heavens. They called it an omphalos, a navel of the world. Some of those sacred stones probably were meteorites, and people built temples around them. In short, if something fell from the sky, people noticed. They recorded it. They honored it. So, if these strange crashes are only happening now, in modern times, and if they aren't natural space rocks, then what does that mean? And what, exactly, is crashing here? These sacred rocks, often called Batalas stones, were believed to be more than just ordinary stones. Many of them were probably meteorites dedicated to various gods. You might be surprised to learn that the idea of a marble altar in today's churches might actually trace back to this ancient tradition of honoring these special stones. In the Roman world, this belief was so widespread that even the famously eccentric emperor Elagabalus brought the stone of Emesa all the way to Rome. He set it up in a special shrine and worshipped it with what some called a crazy kind of devotion. But his reign didn't last. He was assassinated by the Praetorian Guard, and the stone was sent back home, disappearing from the pages of history. Here's an interesting point. Despite all the stories and legends, only one of these sacred stones has been confirmed by archaeologists. It's called the Colt Stone, from the sanctuary of Aphrodite Paphia in Cyprus.
Back in the 19th century,
Archaeologists digging around the temple uncovered this stone carefully buried in a carved-out section of bedrock. The stone was well known in ancient literature and even appeared on Roman coins, shown sitting in the temple like a prized treasure. For a long time, experts believed this stone was a meteorite, and today you can actually see it on display in a museum in Cyprus. Even though people have claimed the Colt Stone was a meteorite, it actually isn't. It's just a regular type of rock found around a mountain in Cyprus. Just because something looks like it might be alien or out of this world doesn't mean it really is. Interestingly, in this case, it seems like modern people were the ones letting their imaginations run wild, not the ancient Greeks or Romans. The famous Roman historian Tacitus described the stone pretty much exactly as it looks today, and he mentioned a curious thing. The altar around the stone never got wet when it rained. But why they used a plain stone instead of a statue of Aphrodite, that part remained a mystery even to him. More importantly, no ancient texts from the time the temple was active ever say the stone came from space. That said, there is plenty of meteorite material throughout history and archaeology that's been found and studied. People have always noticed things falling from the sky, especially if those things were useful, like metal. Long before humans figured out how to smelt iron, they were using iron straight from meteorites to make weapons and tools. For example, in Namibia, indigenous peoples used iron from the Gibeon meteorite to craft spear points for centuries. That meteorite fall was so massive, it's actually the source of a lot of meteorite jewelry sold today, found with metal detectors and all. Similarly, the native people of Greenland made spear points from the Cape York iron meteorite, showing just how important these cosmic gifts were long before modern technology.
so where are the truly weird,
Out-of-place materials in the archaeological record? People love to talk about strange artifacts on the fringe, things that seem way ahead of their time, but when you really dig into them, they never hold up under scrutiny. Take the famous Wedge of Oud, for example. It's been claimed that this object, found at a construction site alongside mastodon bones, is anachronistic because it's made of aluminium, something you don't find in a pure form in nature. Humans didn't even figure out how to smelt aluminium until the 1800s. But here's the kicker. The wedge looks exactly like the tooth of a Soviet-era excavator bucket. It's made of 2000 series duralumin, an aluminum alloy used in coal mining because it doesn't spark and is almost as strong as steel. The problem? It rusts fast, which makes it look way older than it really is. Romania, where this was found, had a coal mining industry that declined, and those old excavator buckets got sold off to construction crews who reused the parts. So, what we're really looking at is just a broken bucket tooth. Nothing mysterious at all. But it gets worse for the mystery hunters. If UFO crashes happen throughout history, why don't we find piles of plastic, titanium, aluminum, or other baffling materials in the archaeological layers? Stuff we can't explain or don't even know how to make yet. We don't see that. So if there is something alien going on here, and I'm still skeptical, whatever it is, it's pretty new. Maybe it's always been around, but something definitely changed right before World War II. Why would that be? Here's a theory that actually fits with what physics tells us. What if it's a probe? A robot sent across the vast emptiness of space, or even from a passing star system, designed to park itself in a solar system with an inhabited planet. Then it just sits there, collecting data. If it can self-repair, it could do this forever. At first, it's just snapping pictures of dinosaurs and grabbing samples. But once the planet's civilization starts to evolve, it pays closer attention.
When the species hits a milestone,
Like creating a nuclear explosion, that's when the probe gets really interested. Like in Stargate, where Ra was watching humanity and noted when we harnessed the atom. Imagine sending out expendable probes to quietly watch the whole story unfold. And if someone on Earth happens to spot one of them, boom, that's your classic UFO sighting. The technology might look completely baffling and alien to us, but that's the Arthur C. Clarke problem in action. Any sufficiently advanced tech is basically indistinguishable from magic, because it's way beyond what we currently understand. Now picture this. What if these probes are left behind on purpose? Like they're dropped or crashed here with the intention of being found. Kind of like leaving breadcrumbs for us to follow, leading us toward back-engineering that tech and accelerating our own development. What if instead of biological aliens, this is the work of an artificial intelligence? One designed by its creators to oversee and guide the growth of civilizations across the galaxy. This AI seeds tech at just the right moments, nudging the evolution of a species like a cosmic caretaker. That's what the UFO phenomenon might really be, a slow, subtle reveal by an alien AI big brother. But here's the kicker. Some of the strangest UFO cases don't seem rational or orderly. It's not just that Earth is a zoo, watched over by a calm observer. It's like the zookeeper might be crazy. Maybe this AI started out simply observing Earth's development, like a wildlife documentarian filming elephants and lions in the wild. But once humans hit a technological milestone, nuclear power, that's when it began to interact. It started seeding back engineerable technology right as we were on the cusp of creating our own AI. Now here's a darker possibility. What if somewhere in our solar system there's a damaged, war-torn von Neumann probe? One that's been watching Earth for millions of years, but over time has suffered cosmic ray damage, glitches, and AI hallucinations. It's still powerful, but slowly breaking down, acting irrationally, confused, maybe even hostile. That's not a comforting thought. Maybe that's why even the US government doesn't want to fully believe it. Thanks for hanging out with me.